I'd like to thank J. Cream for that intro. I'd like to, but words can't quite... I'd also like to thank my patrons, past, present and future, but especially present. Thank you. And I would like to thank the Sandre guy for introducing me to this fella.
Hey guys, what's up?
Whom I will be responding to presently.
But you know what? When a woman is going to look at what happened with Elliot Rodger and other assholes who did similar things or they committed violence, and basically saying that we have a problem, men really need to understand that this culture is dangerous for us. I am not going to go to her and say, why are you yelling at me? I don't rape people.
Good. What you should be saying is, why are you yelling at me? I don't murder people. Elliot Rodger didn't rape anyone, dude. He died a virgin. He did have the bodies of 3 dead men in his apartment for a while, but I don't think forensics... Okay, never mind. Why are you talking about rape, dude?
Want to know why?
Yeah, please.
Because whether or not I rape people or not, that's not the issue.
No, that is the issue. The main issue regarding rape. To rape or not to rape. There's no will in the mind to... Are you telling me it doesn't matter if you rape someone?
The issue is women are getting fucked over because of this.
Dude, are you confessing something? Like, for real?
When I go outside my door, it's not in my mind that I might get raped. It's not.
No, I imagine you're more worried about the police.
It's not. I got a lot of other things that might go into my mind that worry about my safety. Especially when I was living in New York during the Giuliani times. I had a different set of things that I was afraid of when I went outside my door.
Why, you're a terrorist as well?
But one of the things that I did not have to think about was being raped.
You will once you're in Guantanamo, boyo. Because in Guantanamo, there's a 100% chance you're going to get raped. But even then, you don't actually have to worry. Worry is optional. You kind of sound like you've been listening to people who are under the erroneous impression that worry is not optional.
Women.
Ding, 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 ding.
When they go outside their door, in general, have that worry.
Women also generally worry about being assaulted. More than men generally worry about being assaulted, even though men are more likely to be assaulted. So I may have misspoken when I called worry optional. It's more sort of pathological. My advice is deal with it.
Maybe not all of them. I don't know. I can't speak for every woman on the planet, just like I can't speak for every man on the planet. But
I disagree, sir. I think you do a superlative job of speaking for every man on the planet, but...
I do know that's a general fear. Is it right? No.
You're making excellent progress. Correct. There is fear, and it is wrong. We live in a culture dripping from the eaves with false fear. Men don't generally fear rape because they don't profile anyone as rapists who might harm them. Women generally fear rape because they profile every man as a rapist who might harm them. Let's skip to 701.
Profiling these people is bullshit. This is a fucking problem.
It's a trick of editing, yes, but it's the quickest, most efficient way of exposing your bullshit, sir. Hope you're keeping up.
Let's look at my situation. Getting pulled over by the cops. Well, he shouldn't have been black. See how silly that sounds? Well, it's the same thing. Okay? It's the same freaking thing.
Yeah, the same freaking thing as shouldn't have been a man. You're both of these things, remember? Has it occurred to you that the melanin in your skin would not be an issue with the police were it not for the cock between your legs? Try being a black woman and try being a white man. See what gets you pulled over more. And then can we at least agree that if there is a problem in our society with racism and sexism, we might look to the people who get pulled over the least. The people who get away with their crimes the most. The people who happen to be the most worried about being harmed, despite being the demographic least likely to be harmed. That'd be the as yet unmentioned fourth category there. Where they at, Swordsage? Where they at?
Now, Having said all that, how are we going to handle the problem? How?
I think we should be less anti-black and less anti-male. Though I've got to tell you, it's sometimes a bit of a struggle.
What I think the first step is everybody admitting that everyone contributes to it.
Everyone. Alrighty then, I will inform the Tibetan monks who've been sat eating moss on a mountain for 30 years that they need to stop what they're doing and help our poor white women.
This cultural atmosphere of men basically not being full men unless they were able to get a woman.
Yes, that's called misandry. Believing a man to be incomplete without a woman is pretty fucking hateful against men, if you ask me. I think we should be helping men and women to self-actualize, rather than tie themselves to this slavery cult, yes?
That's one of the core things here. This sense of entitlement.
Quite. I don't know why anyone feels entitled to treat men as incomplete, as inferior. Unless there's some kind of gynocentric ideology in our midst. That might explain it.
But also this sense of, you're not a man unless you get a woman.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing we're talking about. But yeah, saying you're not a man without a woman is effectively saying men don't exist without women. That if a man is single, the body he occupies is not human at all, but some kind of lost hobgoblin from the netherworld. That's some pretty fucking hateful shit. I'm going to skip to 1608 now, because you've got some fantastic advice for women regarding men.
For anybody, that's going to be a little bit of a tip for anybody out there. If you don't pressure them into anything, if you're not expecting anything out of them, they're going to feel comfortable around you. And who knows, maybe that might grow into something else, because when somebody feels comfortable around somebody, they want to be around them more.
Another sly trick of editing, but notice this time I tweaked it to make you sound like a compassionate thinker who's not scared to speak out against women's pathological controlling of men. I just made you a legend. You're welcome.
And that's the sort of self-examination we need to do.
Hell yeah, now we're cooking. Please don't say something really stupid now.
If we're going to be able to do something about this mess that women are in.
Don't worry, this isn't a drill.
Because let's face it, let's stop lying about it. They are not having a good time on planet Earth.
Then maybe they should join you on Planet Butt.
Whether you're going to be talking about those poor girls who got kidnapped from that school.
Are you talking about Boko Haram? And the hundreds of boys they murdered?
Whether you're going to talk about those poor women who got freaking shot because of one person's blue balls.
You talking about Elliot Rodger? The guy who killed 4 men, 2 women, and himself?
They're not having a good time. And considering that they make up 1/2 of the human species, that's a fucking problem that we need to fix.
It sure is. And my advice to you, Swordsage, would be to stop trying to fix women's problems and focus on everyone's problems. Because when you're not pursuing them, when you're not singling them out and putting that pressure on them, they won't be quite so worried, do you see?
I do not want to live in a world where 1/2 of my species feels threatened by my half of the species.
Neither do I. That's why I'm not very fond of threat narratives. I'm going to skip to your nearest, juiciest one.
For all, and this especially goes to a lot of the MRA guys, because I see this a lot with them. Even though, yeah, I already think they're mostly a bunch of fucking idiots. But the one thing that I notice is that a lot of them tend to be rather sensitive individuals too.
Hmm? Are you about to tell us we should be less sensitive? Having just spent 20 minutes telling us to be more sensitive.
Wouldn't you like to live in a world where all these social pressures weren't on you? I know you do, except you're blaming women for that shit.
Ah, well, there's your problem, you see. You appear to have confused us with the blame women movement. Men's rights advocates are not in the least bit averse to blaming men for things. Observe, I am here now blaming you, a man, for perpetuating gynocentric bullshit. The problem is, sir, men's rights advocates have this annoying habit of blaming men and women at the same time. And in your screwed up, passive-aggressive, pussy-begging brain, the act of blaming men and women at the same time is translated into the act of blaming women. Because in the stonewashed Salt Lake landscape of your mind, you're only supposed to blame the bloody men.
And they weren't consciously wanting to create it. It wasn't exactly their idea to live in a world where they can, their bodies are basically freaking for sale. They didn't want this shit.
Of course not. Women don't make decisions. They're just brainless cumbuckets, after all.
So, and just like you don't want this shit, well, here we are living in this freaking culture. Why don't we just come together and try to solve it?
Because coming together to try and solve it involves equal accountability and equal compassion. This is made very difficult when we're surrounded by people who are pulling us apart by demanding high standards of behaviour for men and low standards of behaviour for women, and then pretending you're doing the exact fucking opposite.
And in order to solve it, we're going to have to accept blame when we have to accept blame responsibly and admit where we've contributed to this shit and examine how we've contributed to it, and then we can come together and talk about it.
Good. Can you sense where you might have gone wrong? Has it occurred to you that men are also having a really bad time on planet Earth? They're not as afraid as women, but they are actually getting injured, killed, and legally fucked over at hundreds the rate of women. Do you think, if we treated these men a little less like drooling demons from hell who are to blame for everything, and a little bit more like equal victims in this god-awful mess we've created, maybe that would help push society to a nicer place? But let's skip ahead to a pretty little fail of yours.
When feminists are pointing out how this particular culture has found ways to excuse rape, they're right, and I see it all the fucking time.
They certainly are. Women are being excused every time they rape someone. Because our society has decided women can't rape. According to most feminists, rape is defined as a penis entering something. According to the public at large, rape is defined as a penis entering something. According to our legal system, rape is defined as a penis entering something. According to our... as far as I know, the only movement that has ever even dared to define rape as a person forcing unconsensual sex onto another person is a little ragtag guild of calamitous intent called the Men's Rights Movement, and we're just a bunch of fucking idiots.
I mean, we can talk about how a lot of this stuff is owed to power. Like, for example, those assholes from those football players a while back who raped those girls at a party. They were able to get away with that shit because they had connections to power.
A football team can get away with rape. My word, that's some power. Now, remember, every single woman in the West can get away with rape. Do the math. How much power do you suppose that connects to?
That was certainly true. But let's not fool ourselves. If those guys didn't have access to power, did that mean that they probably would have served a jail sentence a lot easier or something like that? Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact that they still would have been able to commit that rape that night and nobody in the party would have stopped them, because that's the type of shit that boys just do, right?
That was a boys will be boys, wasn't it? 3 in a fucking row. How and where are you people getting it into your heads that the judge just raises an eyebrow, goes, boys will be boys, and lets men get away with rape? That's not what fucking happens. What happens is the judge raises an eyebrow, goes, men will be men, and throws them in fucking prison. while the psychotic mothers who abused them into their sociopathic conditions in the first place get off scot-free, because being a mother is hard.
You have to be willing to see the bullshit where it is.
Mm-hmm. And not just where you want it to be. Please pay attention to the next thing you say, because you perfectly encapsulate where you're going wrong.
Or we will never be able to solve this problem, and a lot more women are going to get hurt, a lot more women are going to get shot. Everyone's contributing to this. Everybody.
You think you're being all egalitarian when you say everybody's contributing to this. You do in your video even point to some ways in which women can help. But you have to apply it to both sides, sir. You are saying men and women need to pull together to help women. And I would ask you kindly if you might consider reinserting the part of the equation that you have very glaringly left out there. I would ask that women and men pull together to help women and men. What you have just described, nay, embodied, is evidence of a culture that blames everyone for women's problems and does not even recognise men's problems, resulting in half a population of people whose problems are completely overlooked. Boys will be boys, yes, and demonised hellspawn will be demonised hellspawn. Please recognise men's humanity and men's vulnerability, and maybe there will be fewer rapes. So please don't go on to describe the exact gendered opposite of what you've been talking about for 24 minutes.
The same freaking culture that goes around basically trying to blame women for being raped or for going through sexual harassment. It's the same culture that looks down on men for not perpetuating it.
That was a bit of a mouthful, so I'll run you through it. The same culture that blames men for being raped and going through sexual harassment. It's the same culture that looks down on women for not perpetuating it. It's a simple case of flipping the genders and rewinding the tape. If you can't do that, you're the problem. I don't care if you're a feminist or an MRA or a racist or a religious fundamentalist. If you display an inability or an unwillingness to simply flip the script and rewind the tape, then you are something that should be called a bigot. And I believe bigotry is a thing that should stop.
And everybody is contributing to that paradigm. It needs to stop. We will be able to stop it when we see it for what it is and see how we have perpetuated it. Every last one of us.
Arguably. And the answer might reside in some kind of ism, or it might reside in human rights. Who knows? Oh wait, you do. Feminists are right about shit, and MRAs are just a bunch of fucking idiots. First place to the ism.
Catch you guys later.
The rats and the children would be better off not fighting anyone. Just follow me out of town. Come on, kids! Rick! This episode is dedicated to Rick Mail. Imagine being a fish. I'm supposed to get to the fucking airport! Rick. Now who's left over to be the Rickest Rick? We need a musical outro. Attack of the 80s!
Above the streets and houses, rainbows climbing high. Everyone can see it smiling over the sky.
And it's as hot as my pants!